right, let's talk about Valorant, because Valorant, if you remember, guys, we had that conversation about their new structure where they were handing out franchises to teams that they deem worthy, basically, and they're not going to charge for them. And like 120 or 150 teams applied. Well, now there's a little bit of sort of fallout from this because the initial sort of rejection letters have gone out, and there are some unhappy esports organizations, let's put it that way. So let me just pull up this article here. The headline here is all teams and organizations that have left Valorant before 2023 VCT partnership. Gone for now, hopefully not forever. So what has happened is some of the notices have gone out that they're not going to get spots. Namely, Complexity was the big one. I saw a lot of news this week that Complexity kind of was grumbling that they didn't get a spot. So as a consequence of this, they've parted ways with their Valorant roster. They're ditching their Valorant roster completely. Same with Accrue, same with Soar, same with Rise. Also, NYXL. I didn't even know NYXL for Valorant had renamed to NYFU. Which, how did that get past quality control? I would like to know.
Yeah, that's just interesting. Okay. Because it must not be a native English speaker who made that one.
It's definitely on brand with the city of New York, I'd say. But
I guess if they want to lean into it, yeah, that's pretty cool. So tells me they didn't do it on purpose.
So teams now leaving Valorant because they're not getting spots in this new structure, right? In this new league structure. And there's, I guess, grumblings from teams because they're not really sure how they were not picked, right? There's some big names on this list, right? Dark Zero, Complexity, Soar. These are big esports names. I'm curious what you guys think of this. And let me just add one more story to give a bit of color or context if it changes your views here. But this headline said, Valorant hits worrying benchmark at VCT Masters Copenhagen with record low viewership. So it says esports fans are seemingly losing interest in following Valorant matches from their homes. So this was some of the worst numbers ever for Valorant. It had the lowest average viewer in their history, 317,000. And this was with 12 teams that were competing in Denmark. So, and you can see here on screen some of the average viewership, depending on what stage they were at. But the lowest was 317,000. It peaked, average viewership peaked at 469,000. So some big name teams getting left out, and then viewership sort of hitting some all-time lows. What is your read, guys, on Valorant esports in general here? Jimmy, you have thoughts?
It's going to be interesting. I'm not sure. There's obviously reasons why some of these big name teams were left out. We don't have access to their application, and when you look at the other teams in context, especially with the low barrier to entry that Riot provided to allow greater opportunity for some of these teams, I'm not sure if it's based off of viewership, based off of a competitive nature of trying to make it a better sport, or maybe trying to give some tier 2 teams and lesser known teams an opportunity where they feel like there's too much power at the top. I don't know if that last one's the case, because there's a lot of big names that we do recognize that are partaking here as well. I think it's still a little too early to judge for me.
I heard rumors. None of it's confirmed, but like Cloud9 supposedly has moved ahead in this selection process. NRG has moved ahead in this selection process. Like some big name teams have also been leaked as like having been moved ahead in the process.
So they haven't officially announced who.
No.
They just eliminated some.
Correct.
And that was not made public. It's just some people, those teams got made. Were kind of
I don't know if Riot made an official announcement, but the teams like Complexity made an announcement saying we didn't get a spot, so we're ditching our men's Valorant roster basically.
Again, I would want to see. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
I would want to see the application more thoroughly, right? I mean, you see a lot of these teams that might have conflicting sponsors or conflicting interests with the league itself and what they're going to be forcing the teams to comply with to go through that process. So it might not be just a big name kind of and big audience gets you the spotlight. There could be just it sounds more like whether or not they're a fit for the league, on what the league's going to provide to the teams, to the players, and to, you know, to the competitive element of the sport. So without having seen the specific questionnaire or that process, but I feel like this is more of a it's kind of like it feels a lot like college applications, right, or grad school applications, where not everyone with the highest GPA and the highest test score are a fit. They need people from different demographics or what have you to really make it this. I don't know.
I think
I
that's
hope
a
I'm not
great
giving them
point,
too much
Jimmy. I hadn't
credit.
actually thought about the business side of like, hey, if our league's going to be sponsored by this, but this team is a big sponsor of that, like maybe it's not a fit, or even maybe what they're requesting. It's like some people might say, hey, we're in, but we want this rev share, and that's not what they're looking for. So I had just been thinking, oh, they probably would just take the 25 like most recognizable ones that apply. But that's why I guess I don't run Riot Esports, because what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
But does any of this make you guys want to go back to the good old days of Activision Blizzard franchise leagues where whoever could just afford the high
it's a good
price
idea.
tag
We should have it be done in a smoky room with Bobby and his cronies, you know, sitting there with their cigars, you know, dividing up the world into
and
spheres
then not
of
collecting
influence.
any money from it.
Yeah, that's true. This is true. Adam says, I just want to catch up here, guys. Adam says, Meta just increased their headset price by 33% for no reason. They aren't smart enough to be in this audience. This is true, Adam. This is very true. Matt says, more like NYF that. I mean, they must get an award for the worst branding in history. Like, they dropped, the Valorant team was called Andbox. And then when they went back to NYXL, I checked the history. They renamed the Valorant team NYFU. Like,
that's hilarious. Is that bad branding, or is it just really bad good branding?
I mean, how are the marketing people there still there?
If they would like to hire someone, I would love to build the FU brand. Put myself up for that.
The FU brand,
right up in your ethos.
Yeah. Matt says, maybe the global gaming community is sick of Valorant. How many first-person shooter esports titles do we really need? I mean, Chris has a sort of a comeback here. Global gaming is CS:GO. Going to take a lot of work to take down the king. Patience, Zoomers, patience. Do we really think it's just a matter of time for Valorant, or maybe too many missteps?
I mean, the whole time I've been thinking that they did launch this during a pandemic, and also they haven't really had like a normal world to operate their esports yet. I still think that it's worth putting some more time into. I think it's important though for Riot to kind of decide on sort of like a hard stop. Like, okay, if we don't see any growth or what we're expecting in 2 years, like let's drop it. So yeah. I guess the point is, I still think that there's time. I think they started at a really weird time, but there has to be some sort of this isn't going to work plan as well. And I'm sure it's Riot, so I'm sure they have that.
You know, I would give them. Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was going to say I would give them even more than 2 years. This game is a massive hit. So many people love everything about it. The characters, the maps. The beta was one of the most successful in recent memory, right? Where everyone was watching just to get the drop in the access key to play it early, even though it was followed by a massive drop in audience afterwards. I remember that being a massive success. What was that, 3 years ago? I think this game's here for the long haul. I don't know if it's too many missteps. I think it's just patience, figuring it out. The hardest part that we always say on the show with blockchain, with anything, the hardest part is having a fun game, and they have that. So the rest of it, especially with a machine like Riot, should be something they're able to figure out.